Hello everyone, Ian and Leona here. This is the I Hate Love Me. Try that again. This is the I Hate LA Love Me Anyway podcast. Wow, that was a lot. I'm so super stressed. But I keep podcasting and I'm going to continue to podcast. There was something wrong with the internet there, so I don't know if anything I said went out into the atmosphere, but it doesn't stop me, it doesn't deter me. Just by the act of podcasting, I'm proving that you can stand up to oppression, that you can stand up for your human rights, and you do have the right to breathe fresh air. You do have the right to an environment and a country that respects you. That's what I believe. As always, I am Ian Ileana, disabled American veteran with PTSD from military sexual trauma. I am here on this channel to discuss environmental issues and issues of human rights. Thought I would expand upon that point that I made in the previous broadcast about the female cashier who tried to speak to me because she was the only attendee there, and it was some sort of drama where my buzzer wasn't going off, so therefore she had to have a conversation with me just to hand me the food, which she knows I was waiting for. And she said to me, "Do you need any napkins?" Now, an innocuous statement in itself, but I'm Asian, so Native American, First Nation, therefore Asian. I looked deeper into that conversation. I almost saw that as a mini haiku and said, with my PTSD, I want to just completely shut down, but let me think about that. Let me meditate upon the words she's saying to me, because they may have value outside of just this conversation. And I thought about it, and now I'm ready to discuss what I've gleaned from that. By saying, "Do you want napkins?" Oh, hey CT, hey CT. I'm talking about philosophy right now. When she said, "Do you want napkins?" I was thinking of my veteran benefits versus falling into this entertainment business, which I appreciate, and like it or not, I am still a part of. I'm an independent artist. I don't have a music label except for the one that I own myself. I own my own music label. I own it. That's mine. I have my own music label. So most of my music is 100% original. So all the profit from that, whether it be 2 cents or half a cent, it all belongs to me. And I love that. I love the ability to say that I own my own music and I can do a show if I want or refuse a show if I want. Oh, bonjour, bonjour. Bonjour, monsieur. Bonjour. I am currently in Los Angeles. Hello, Danny Diaz. So if you look at my description, I have a bunch of initiatives that I'm trying to get done in California. California stresses me out. It stresses me out, and oh, you're from India. Very lovely. Yeah, I know. This is like huge. Please do. If I talk about environmental issues and I talk about what it's like to be a disabled American veteran living in America, but I also make music and I do covers of artists and I come up with brand new, just really creative versions. So if you like music, oh yes, the test of all time, water, like water for chocolate. It's not water, it's water. There's a t in there. So you say the t. At least that's how I was taught. Yeah, I know. I love when Americans, can I have a glass of water? I'm like, what the fuck is a water? I know. I have water. If you care to drink, what's a water? Wah. I don't know. Since they're speaking in tongues, that's what Harry Potter meant when he said, "Oh, I speak parcel tongue. I speak whatever the fuck these Americans are saying." I'm an American, but I grew up in a country that I looked around me and I just decided no, no. Whatever they've got going on, I have to wisen up. And I'm currently on Amazon right now. Thank you, John. Thank you. It's funny. It's funny because ever since I moved into to California, I've actually stopped going out into the daylight. And of course, Hollywood, because Hollywood is all about me. I don't know why. I am nothing special, but Hollywood's about me. SNL is about me. But either way, they have this thing on vampires now. So Nosferatu came out, and I was like, I totally get it. Because it's true. If you live in California, if you're a dumb motherfucker, you will go out in this fucking daylight. Because the daylight is actually super fucking strong. So when you go out in that, you might as well say, I went to a tanning salon and I didn't have to pay. Congratulations. I saved a bunch of money on tanning because I just walked outside. The sunlight will fucking cook you like a Thanksgiving turkey. I don't celebrate it because number one, I'm First Nation, and two, I'm part British. So on two accounts, I don't celebrate it. But either way, I had to make that analogy because people always overcook the birds, and living here, looking at the females, they definitely overcook the birds. It's like really true. So the movie comes out for Nosferatu, and people are like, vampire this, vampire that. And they don't understand that that's what ages you. That is what ages you. It's the sun. The sun is like a friend, but not really. Like it's a friend, as in you want them to come and visit you on occasion, bring you nice things, and then you want them to leave. In the case of the sun living in California, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I know, vampires everywhere. But yeah, in case of the sun, what you want to do is get your vitamin D and then get the fuck out. Like if you go out and have a nice walk, sunrise or sunset, you're getting your vitamin D. And then after that, you're fucking set. You have to start talking about this with your children because the children are either not getting enough vitamin D or they're getting way too much. Actually, no, no. Let me think of it another way. Another way that I would put it is children need as much vitamin D as possible. So what they should be doing is your child should be outside. But a lot of children growing up in industrialized areas, they don't go outside. They stay in, they play their video games, and they don't exercise, they don't do anything. So when they grow up, they like start growing fat and they're not fit, and they're mental about it, and then the kids tease them, and then you have these little American fuckers running around with guns because they didn't go outside when they were younger, they didn't have any mates, and they were bullied. So yeah, pretty much. And it's something that we never talk about because we always like to say in America, well, it's the guns that did the violence. It's the gun. Is no. Somebody had to hold it. Remember that you had to pull the trigger. And so someone pulled the trigger, and that person who pulled the trigger probably never really went outside, is completely ostracized, and no one interceded beforehand in a way that made sense. I'm the kind of person who says, I need to go to Washington and start having conversations on a larger basis with these senates and say, I need to be head of education because I need to fucking take these schools to the next level. And what I mean by take these schools to the next level is have a more intensive no bullying program. Because these people who are bullied, they don't have outlets. They don't have people they can turn to. So they turn to violence. And it takes very little. You should actually have someone assigned to these people and say, look, what are you good at? And what can I do in order to teach you a skill that'll make you more sociable. Not let me shove you into a social group and then expect you to fucking swim like you're Michael Phelps. You see, that shit doesn't really work. And that's how they do things in America. It's so ham-fisted that they just don't get it. But if you use a more delicate approach, I should. I'm at this point where I'm just gonna keep streaming and streaming. I'm gonna do multiple streams. I'm gonna start streaming my video game playing because I do play games on occasion. I haven't lately because I said I'm so stressed and I'm so focused on these LA fires that are going on. How can I relax and play a video game? I usually play Capcom games, Bandai Namco. I love the storytelling that they have there and just the sense of adventure and the world building. It's one of the most immersive gameplay experience that you can have is with these two companies. I haven't tried Sensuality, Echoes of Ada. I want to. I really want to because I don't know. I mean, they're talking about it in all of the reviews, but when they talk about it, it only makes me more curious because there's a fundamental truth in that game. There's a fundamental truth in those types of games. Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. So I live in Los Angeles. I have a very strange accent because my father's an immigrant, and two of my mates were either Aussie or Irish or Scottish, Welsh. I had no mates that were really American. I had one girl that I grew up with in high school, and we didn't really talk much except maybe in Spanish. Otherwise, we were in our own little world, and it was just like fuck everybody else. So I had no need to learn American. I have no desire to, because when you start speaking American, it's their own way of just trying to force their culture upon you. And like I said, I am First Nation. Oh, thank you, CT. Have a good night's sleep. But as I said, I'm First Nation. So when I came to grow up, I was always of the mindset of I want to do my best. I want to put my best foot forward. But at the same time, I have to know I'm too brown for their nonsense. I'm too brown for this idea that they can tell me what to do, how to speak, and how to behave, and what I do. So I just naturally grew apart. I grew to be a person who still said, I want to serve this country. Well, why? Because this is where my Native American people and First Nation people are. This is where they are. So if I have to look spiritually inside for where are my people, where are the people who are closest to me, because when I look at my soul, I encourage people, if you have the ability to take your soul and then examine it, do so. And I don't care if I lose people on that. I'm still going to continue this conversation. I look at my soul and I don't really see color as much as I do just certain ideologies, certain views on relationships. And I see myself as deeply Asian. And when you think of the Asian people, you think of their history, you think of their culture, you think of their family, you think of connection. And that's the same exact thing that they have in First Nations / Native American people. It's the same exact thing. It's just Native American people are Asian people who came up from Asia over the Bering Strait and then went all the way down North America, through Central America, to South America, to the tip of South America. Those are Asian people. Over time, they gradually changed and differed and whatnot, because you had to go through everything from Canada to New Mexico to Ecuador to Colombia to Argentina. You had to go through a lot of countries, and along the way, people stopped, and when they stopped, they changed, and over time, they became less Asian and more something else. But Native American slash First Nation people and Asian people, Chinese, Japanese, we are very related. We are related. So when people see me in Los Angeles and they see me, doing my sutras, which are hand symbols which I use to weave magic, that's because I'm Asian. I mean, I'm very, very dark skinned, but my sister got more of the Asian genes than I did. But within my soul, I'm Asian, which is why magic works for me. And if you live in Los Angeles, you just know it's true. I've lived here for 3 years. If you've lived in Los Angeles and seen me, you've seen me perform magic here. It's it's just something you have to accept. Magic is real, and Ian Ileana Daddy is a musician and a magician. And I can see why every time people try to call me a musician when they're on camera, they keep calling me a magician instead. And I was actually called the strongest wizard, and it's true because I do magic in public. Well, thank you for saying I'm aware, but I say that anybody could be aware. It doesn't matter where you come from. And I know that this might be controversial to say, but this is a podcast, and it's my podcast, so I'll say whatever the fuck I want. Sometimes white people forget that they're white and what that actually means, because when they think of white, they usually think of privilege. And no, no, you people were Vikings. You people were Celts. I mean, you people were Germans, like Piths. You were running around living your version of a native life. You were indigenous before the Romans came and fucked you up, and now all of you think that you just drink tea and you're so prim and proper. No, you were just as savage as the rest of us. You were savage like me. I love shows like Vikings because it reminds me that underneath all those layers of privilege and oppression that we sometimes attribute to Caucasians, they yearn so much for the freedom that they see in cultures like the Mexican culture, like black culture here in America. They envy that because we, as people of color, we don't hide that from ourselves often. I know that when people of color hear someone like me speak, they they say, "Oh, he's being an Uncle Tom. He's not being true to who he is." And I say, "I'm just being more honest because I'm saying I'm a genius. I am an engineer. I'm not just a person who can spit and flow, but I can if you ask me to, and I can when I want to, and I choose when I do that. So I have power over that. I don't let that control me. I don't let that limit me. I feel sometimes that there is so much pride in communities like the Mexican community or the black community where they would rather stay so entrenched in their own culture that they sometimes forget that you have to sometimes transcend in order to reach a little bit further. You have to see a bigger picture than just what affects your own community. When I talk about Black Lives Matter, I say, and police lives matter too. Why? Because there are police officers who are black, there are police officers who are brown, there are police officers who are Asian. So when you say Black Lives Matter, you have to include them in the conversation. And then you also have to say, we need to talk to each other. We can't just say Black Lives Matter and not, well, police have to be afraid to do pullovers during a traffic stop because you never know what you get. You might get someone who just says, I see a policeman, gone. And then, someone knocks on your door and says, your policeman, your father, your husband is not coming home. They are afraid. And they have every right to be afraid. They don't have a right to just act on fear alone. That they do not have. But they are afraid. Let's talk about that fear. Because we're afraid also to be pulled over. We're afraid that we won't go home to our family. So you know what? If two people are afraid, then they should talk to each other. They shouldn't just say, well, it's your fault or it's my fault. It's everybody's fault, because by not talking about things, it gets worse. And I say that as a person who has PTSD with military sexual trauma, so I refuse to talk to females after being sexually abused by Master Sergeant Miranda of the United States Air Force. I refuse to. And I know that that's bigoted. I know that that is wrong because only one woman did that, and I should just leave it at that, and I should be the bigger person. I'm not going to be the bigger person. I know it's hypocritical, but I'm not. Because when I try to give people the benefit of the doubt and say, I have PTSD from military sexual trauma, it freaks me out to go outside. It freaks me out to even be in my apartment, because it's an apartment where women try to break into it. There's an apartment where women try to jump out at me when I'm on an elevator or I'm trying to descend the staircase. This is that apartment. So I'm already freaked out. I sit on a bus and some Latin grandma tries to grab my crotch in the middle of trying to go to Long Beach. And you just have to say, what the fuck? Look, I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to say, you know what? You're an old ass bitch. Sit your fucking ass down. And you know what? Don't talk to me. You're not allowed to. Just sit your fucking ass down. But she was like, oh, can I get your attention? Can I get your attention? I'm like, I have nothing to say to you. Like, I don't know you. You're a fucking stranger. Like, can I get your attention? Can I get your attention? I was like, I don't know you. I don't know you. And so she just went from my crotch and grabbed it. And I scream at her. And I scream at her like anybody would scream. If you were a woman, you would scream. If a guy did this to you, you would scream. You would beat the shit out of him if it happened to you. And you'd be entitled to. But I'm a man, at least outwardly. I consider myself transgender now because I'm so abused. I don't see myself as having that much testosterone anymore because, look, all I do is stay indoors. I don't talk to any guys. I barely do. And I'm just surrounded by women. Like, every time I go out, there are more women than men. And it's just a fact of life that when you live in a city like this, there's just more women than men. So I have to deal with that, but I won't deal with people grabbing my crotch in public. That's just inappropriate. But talking to people does matter. So instead of having individual conversations with people and trying to engage with them, join civil groups where people gather and they talk about issues like this, I said, no, I know who I am. I know what I've suffered. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do a podcast, and that's this podcast. I Love Me. No. Why is it so hard to fucking say the name of the podcast? Because it's so fucking long. I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway. That's the name of it. I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway. And she did. So bad. So bad. Speaking of that, I have Valentine's Day coming up. And I talked about it in the last podcast, but I have the choice of whether or not I would go to see the new Captain America or do a podcast like this where I can talk about environmental issues. And I want to go see it because I haven't seen a Marvel film since Wolverine and Deadpool. Or is it Deadpool and Wolverine? I think it's Deadpool and Wolverine. Whatever. Not whatever, whatever. I love the film. And I love Hugh Jackman. And I love. There were other people in that cast. I just. Anyway, I love that film. The shade is real. Oh, wow. Wow. You know I've had a rough day when I'm just so snarky. So snarky. But I saw that sign when I'm trying to order food of Hollywood is struggling to recover. And I'm like, we're giving a boohoo to Hollywood when forests burned down. Boohoo Hollywood. Even when they strike, it's not, I had to eat cat food out of a tin because I didn't get the right to a parking spot. I mean, when your shit gets that bad, like certain people who are poor, like I kid you not, I was at a bus stop and I saw a guy just chugging milk straight out of the bin, and all I could say is, in my head at least, because I didn't want to engage with him. You know, there's like a store like right there. There's a store right there that accepts EBT food stamps, and if you are starving like that, you might as well go over there. And my God, my fucking brogue is so fucking strong. When I'm drinking a little bit. So hold on one second. Have a cig. Whew. There I am. As I was saying, if you are that hungry, there is food stamps, EBT, and they'll get you food. They'll get you food. Like, you will never really starve in a city. Not anymore. I mean, they do ask if you, could you check in just to make sure you're alive and if anything has changed. But for the most part, you're fed here. Like, there's no reason for homeless to have to still, in 2024, 2025, go through any bins for leftovers. They shouldn't even have to beg for scraps. That's just lazy. I mean, if you want to use that for drugs, I mean, I guess that could be a reason why you would do that. But for the most part, if you're hungry, just go get some food. I know that sounds as shallow and reductive as it is, but it's a fact. If you are hungry, homeless, they'll feed you. They'll even give you housing. It's not that difficult anymore. However, quality of food and quality of housing matter, because if you want to eat healthy, if you want to eat proper, you need more money, because the food that is cheap is just not good for you. And sometimes you need things like vegetables. I mean, nobody as a celebrity wants to talk about bowel movements, wants to talk about, damn, you need some roughage in your diet, but sometimes you do. And I'll be the first person to say, get your fucking Activia on, get your Jamie Lee Curtis on, start grooving some fucking yogurt, do something. Because a lot of people, they just eat burgers and fries and chips and fish and all that. And then they keep wondering, like, why is my health suffering? It's because you've never eaten a fucking green thing in your fucking life. That's why. I mean, just saying, could you add lettuce to the meat means something. I mean, your body says, thank God you fucking did that. I was supposed to, like, fucking push this out like a meat grinder that hasn't been oiled in like 2 years. I have to get out of here. I keep doing this podcast because someone has to speak up for human rights. Somebody has to speak for animals and plants who don't have things like a YouTube account. So that's what I do. I do that and I make music. So people check in, please check in my music. It's not as political as I would like, but it's not really a political stance or a statement to say, I breathe oxygen. If you say that, it shouldn't be bad, offensive, or ostracizing to say, I breathe oxygen. I prefer when people acknowledge things like that. They acknowledge that they have bodies, acknowledge that they piss, shit, fuck, whatever. Acknowledge it, because that's a fact of life. Because people grow up being shamed by that. They grow up being shamed by that, and then by the time they're adults, that's all they do sexually. And we never say, well, damn, well, that's where it's from. Because people are taught to be shamed. You shouldn't be shamed at all. I mean, I think about what I said last time about the whole transgender, using toilets. It's such a non-issue. It's such a non-issue. And I don't mean that to be flippant. I mean, it's something that is so simple. It's like, if you need to go, you go. And then it doesn't matter who's next to you. Like, who the fuck cares? They have like little privacy windows on most of these things. Like, if you are having a conversation in a fucking loo, that's your fucking problem. If you have the time to be upset because another person's there, that's your problem. And I say that as a person who, when I'm walking out of a bathroom and I see two birds fucking blocking my fucking way, I still say exit in the bathroom, because it's just, you're giant, you're fat, and you're fucking in my way. So that I will do. But indoors, because honestly, I recently tried to apply for school, and I was in school, and they had the policy of all bathrooms are unisexual, and I was just like, I will go to whatever bathroom I need to fucking go, because it's a fucking room that you just do your business and then you get back to your life. Wash your hands, obviously, but then you just get back to your life after you've washed your hands. You have to say that to people. I mean, it shouldn't be something you have to repeat, but I almost encourage people to do that. But they always use the wrong soap, so I'll do a whole podcast on the reason why you have to use probiotic soap, especially in your own home, because every time you wash, you're kind of washing away your only barrier against bacteria, fungi, and all the rest of it. But at the same exact time, you touched your private, you touched other things, wash your fucking hands. Especially if you work in the fucking food industry. Because every time you eat something and then suddenly, it doesn't feel right. Well, I wonder if you talk to the staff of that restaurant you just ate. I had an opportunity when I was in Dallas, Texas, to work for a barbecue place, and they were so excited because Food TV, the Food Network, decided to do a profile on them. And me, I'm a disabled American veteran, PTSD with military sexual trauma, but I took my job seriously, and I took food safety seriously, because I said, we're at the Dallas State Fair for Texas. And I had someone ask me as a manager, may I pop off, use the toilet, and then come back? And I said, sure, of course you can. You're a grown adult. We'll cover what you need to while you're gone and on your way. They came back, and I said to them in response, all right, welcome back. Just wash your hands, put on your gloves, and rejoin us on service. They broke down in tears. They broke down in tears. They started saying, I'm yelling at them. And I said, no, I just need you to wash your hands before you put on gloves and then start serving food to these people. I was shocked. This person was going to fucking fall apart like this over not wanting to wash their own hands. You're in the food industry. You always wash your hands when you're in the food industry. You wash your hands before you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands after you go to the bathroom, and then before you go back on service. But this is America. So while this is happening, the other female co-worker of this person decided to say, "Why are you being so mean to her?" and then shoved me in my chest. I have PTSD from military sexual trauma. I don't care if I was on the job or not. That woman put her hands on me. I was having flashbacks. I said no. Cover my stuff. I'm going to the police. I went and I got to the police. I had the police come down. And of course, this company said, you know what, we understand, but we're going to fire you for that. I'm like, so you're going to fire me for not having your restaurant be sued because I let someone who just went to the bathroom not wash their hands before serving food to a bunch of people. Kids too. I mean, it's a state fair, so kids get hungry too, and they're going to come to this stall and they're going to be served food by someone who would rather cry than wash their hands. And I know that this isn't exactly where I wanted the conversation to go, but I want people to understand that this is the country that I'm living with, that I'm living in a country that would get violent when someone tries to point out rules and regulations that make sense. Rules and regulations that protect people, protect lives. Like, the EPA is an organization, an agency here that should be protecting people and saying that we need to inspect your cars more. We need to have it done not just on a yearly, we need to have it done monthly, because all these fuckers, they get on their cars and they go over the roads, and the roads are so poorly maintained, and then they hit a pothole and smash. Your exhaust is fucked up now. And it's just like, didn't you have a filter on that? The filter's damaged. Oh, so you mean all the exhaust is going out now? More exhaust is coming out. Oh, you're going to repair that? Oh, I don't have the money for that. Really? Okay. So when are you going to repair that? Oh, when I get the money. So when will you get the money for? Americans would rather dither on about it instead of saying, I had a car, the car is in need of repair, it needs to be done. It just needs to be done, because my actions affect other people. You see, people don't see that in here in America. They see everything with the blinders on. So when you fuck up your car and your car exhaust is spewing out more pollution, it's spewing out more pollution back into your face. It's spewing out more pollution back into some kid's face who's in a stroller, and his parent is just saying, I'm going to take my kid to the park. I'm a great parent that lets my kid exercise and run around. Look at me. And normally they would be right. But if your kid actually has to be in a stroller next to a road, and that road is with people with this fucker with a messed up muffler, it's spewing pollution straight into your kid's face. What kind of parent are you then? Oh, it was only for 10 minutes. How many breaths do you take in 10 minutes? How many? Because you're an adult, your kid is small, and I know I don't have any kids. So what the fuck should I care? These aren't my fucking kids. But you know what? I'm daddy. And when I say daddy, I mean I'm not your father. I am father of Los Angeles. I'm daddy of Los Angeles, the official daddy of Los Angeles. Although I don't really want to pay X just for the privilege of saying that, because it just seems weird to say I have to pay for a title which I've clearly earned through my humanitarian work. So sorry, Elon, I don't think you get $22 out of me for that. But, if you want to ask other people, more power to it. I am Daddy of Los Angeles, and that's what you will address me as. Unless you want to call me King of the North or Bringer of Rain. I also answer to those. I should be a doctor. I should be someone who went to medical school, so I could be a pediatric surgeon. So I could start talking to these parents on a one-on-one basis and say, you know what? I know you want to take your kids to the park, but you have to start saying, on the way to the park, put on a fucking mask. Put on a mask. I look at the numbers because I do the AQI readings for Los Angeles. It is 60s most of the time. 60s. Sometimes in the hundreds. Is it the same exact thing as being in a burning building? No. Because in a burning building, you know that it's burning, so therefore you try and leave it. As opposed to a building of smoke. Ugh. So much hair in my fucking mouth. I think it's dog hair. It's fucking dog. I love you. I have a service animal. Her hair is just literally everywhere. I love her. I love her because she's so smart. She's so responsive. She takes care of me. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even eat without her because I get so depressed that I would just stay in the bed, and she's like, no, you get out. I don't care if you feed me and go back to sleep, you're gonna fucking eat too. I will fucking howl, I will fucking shake the bed, I will be there, and I will tell you that you're not alone. And it goes beyond, emotional. It goes beyond everything. It's true companion. It's a true companion. A service animal is a companion. A service animal is trained specifically to suit your needs. You teach them things that, you wouldn't teach a normal dog. Like, I teach my dog that when I even have a flashback and I'm not yelling or screaming, she knows to take me to some place and isolate me until I calm down. Like, that kind of training is amazing. I love that. I love that of this dog. She's trained that when we're out in public, not to speak, because barking can set people off, and I can't talk to my dog most of the time while we're on walks and things, because these Californians often use that as an entryway to try and talk to me, and because of my PTSD, there's just a no-go. So we have to talk in our own way without trying to incur the attention of these Los Angeles people, because, as I said, I have PTSD from military sexual trauma. I cannot deal with people, which is why, I don't know, I started looking on Amazon for tents. I started looking on Amazon for tents. I could repair my situation so I'm not homeless anymore. But then again, I just don't want to put myself through it again. I don't. I'm the type of person, maybe it is an ancestry thing beyond just the PTSD. I'm a person who lives in a tent. I'm a person who would rather sleep on the hard ground than in a bed. It feels amazing. It feels good. I like to see the stars. I like nature. I don't like cities. I don't like people that often. So I started looking for a tent. It means that I have less stuff. It means that I won't have a need to purchase more clothes because I'll just be out in the wilderness. But I'll have more freedom. I could sit down, read a book. Read a book without what I currently have here, which this whole entire city is designed to harass and try and bend people toward the entertainment business, or try to bring out their natural talent, for their own good, whatever. I'm in a situation where like everything is trying to trigger my PTSD. I have women trying to break into my apartment. I have women, at the bottom of the staircase just waiting for me. It's ridiculous. I have women, just always outside, not even seeing anyone, just outside loitering. And I know that that's just like, well, what do you expect? You live in a city. Then explain to me why, out of all the fucking food trucks, this is the one food truck that a woman's on a microphone. None of the others require it. I mean, it's an illegal restaurant. There's a food truck, and then there's whatever the fuck that is. When you start doing that, but nobody complains. And I'm a veteran with PTSD, so I'm the only one complaining. Everybody else, they're not set off by that. I'm set off by that. So I scream, I have to plug my ears because it's just, I can't fucking deal with it. But that's what I'm talking about of, I moved to the city of Los Angeles, and this is what the city did to me. I said, let me go live in Santa Monica. Let me live in Venice, where there's a fucking beach right there. There's less pollution. There's still pollution, but there's less pollution. And they were like, no. We're going to move you specifically to the apartment where you have a woman on the megaphone at night, and then during the day, for most of the day, you have someone parked outside your window smoking cigarettes directly into your window. If you put all of that together, it's just, that's abuse. That's abuse. That's torture, and that's abuse. Why would I put myself through that again? I know in my head I was originally thinking, no, I'll move to a brand new apartment in a new state where they don't do stuff like that. The people are chill, whatever. Where's the fucking guarantee? There's no guarantee in anything in life. But after what I've just experienced, I just can't go through that again. So I'm going to have to buy a tent. I'm going to completely downsize. And if I can fit it within like one bag, I'm just not going to fucking use it, because I just don't want it anymore. I just don't want any of this anymore. I don't want Los Angeles. I started this podcast as I hate LA, love me anyway, but I really do hate LA. And I don't know if I was able to eloquate how much I do. When I started talking about this benefit concert, I know I tried to tell people about the benefit concert tomorrow, and I'm advertising for it. But the more I advertise for it, the more I say to myself, these are selfish people. These are all selfish people. Because they only think about the human side of it, the human tragedy of it. It's never, ever going to be a conversation about how a city, it's not the city of Los Angeles that was hurt. It was the city of the force around Los Angeles. That was the city. And I know it doesn't seem that way because it doesn't have a Starbucks. And I hate to say it that way because it makes me sound like I'm ragging on Starbucks. Starbucks can do whatever the fuck they want. I'm still going to talk about it as an issue of how much it hurts as a person of First Nation descent to hear that this city is crying about an outrage, and we need to have our political leaders resign when a whole forest burned down, burned animals, birds, their wings on fire, and they screamed. Who heard that? Who feels that pain? Who feels that despair? Who grieves? Who grieves for that? I do. I grieve for those animals. I grieve for those birds that were caught in an LA firestorm. I did this podcast because I wanted to talk more about how these firefighters are being used by this county. But I really think that those forests were just taken for granted. That the animals, they were just inconvenient for Los Angeles. Because now that those areas are gone, just those trees are gone, everything's gone. What are they going to do? Are they going to plant those trees back? Are they going to re-irrigate the area like they should, like I want them to? No. What they'll do is they'll wait a couple of years, maybe a whole decade will go by, and then they'll say, new housing development. Oh, look, there's a new mini mall. Get your shoes here. Get your new mobile. Why don't you go shop in the area over the bones of the animals, the powdered bones of those animals that burned to death? Why don't you shop on that area? Why don't you live on top of that misery? That is what they will do in California, because that's free land now. Look, when they did it to the Native Americans and the First Nations by giving them blankets with smallpox in it. Looking back at it now, we're so outraged. But this country they're just monsters. They really are monsters, because they burn down these forests, and then eventually they're going to just say, well, it's unused land. It's unusable land. We might as well just build upon it. Bastards. Because how is a bear supposed to show up in court and say, well, I had a den in that area, and now you put a house there over where my den was. You put a garage where my den was. The house is right next to it. And then you put a fence around it so I can't go near it. I still had some food in the back, in case you want to just, no, okay, I'm off your property. Yep. How's a bear supposed to show up in court and defend its right to that land? It can show up on your front lawn and defend its right, but then it's, that bear, it's coming and attacking us. No, the bear's saying that was my land. That was my home that you burned down, and then you fucking squatted on top of it. The arrogance of these California people to do that to defenseless animals. And I know when you say bear, it's like, you've got claws, you've got, weight on you, duke it out, bro. Yeah, see how well that works when the humans come back at you. It never occurs to people to think of animals as worthy of their attention, worthy of their respect, and worthy of being in their neighborhood, even including bears. You see, bears are not the fucking enemy. They're really not. The enemy are the people who gleefully burn down a forest, eventually will put a house or a housing development there, and then say, you should live there. Oh, and by the way, we're polluting the entire area, so all the bad air that's going to be there because there are no trees to fucking filter anything out. Good luck with that. How many people are going to have health problems who don't already, but now do because of these LO fires? I seem to care about this, and I don't see other people who care. I see the musician cares, and the musician cares. I have to ask them. I'm going to write them a letter today and ask them, what does it mean when you say that you care about this issue? Does it mean that you just care about firefighters and people who lost their homes, which they probably had insurance on? Like, where does your care lie? Because if it doesn't care for the forest, if it doesn't care for the animals and the birds that live in the forest, then I don't want to promote your stuff. Then I don't want to mention your benefits at all. I don't want to be part of Musician Cares if it's just about what's good for humans is good for all. Which is why I questioned in that last podcast the validity of feeling that these musicians have when they go to perform for a concert for these LA fires. Because these people, they pay top dollar to see you for these tickets. They love your music. They're dancing around and they're dancing in their seats. But do they understand that people lost their lives? Do they understand that animals have died because of this? Plants are alive. Plants are alive. You eat them to stay alive. That's how alive they are. Do they understand what loss means? Do they? Or did they just say, this is a fucking cool ass party and that's that celebrity I fancy? I think they said that. And that saddens me. It really does. I want those celebrities to be paid because if you're that talented, you deserve your money for performing in public. I wish some of that had gone to rebuilding those forests toward wildlife. I'm gonna cry over this. When I think about wolves and rabbits with burns and the pain that they must be in, and just frightened out of their gourd, surrounded by fire that they've never known. They've never known fire. And not understanding what's going on or why. We did this. We did this. This is arson. This is arson. No, I'm not saying Gavin Newsom walked into the forest with a lighter fluid and then threw it and chuck that match at it. No, I'm not saying that. But through environmental policy, through not enforcing the laws that were on the books already, through not inspecting the fire department's equipment and just signing your name and saying, that's your budget, without saying, well, you better have every fireman's suit up to code, you better have every nozzle, every hose ready for whatever may come. Because at this point, we have to accept these fires keep happening and they will continue to happen until we repair the environment here. somebody has to speak up. Somebody has to speak up and defend those that cannot defend themselves. I talk about the animals and the plants, and it does seem a lot like I prefer the animals and the plants over people. I do, but that doesn't dissuade me from also speaking about how poor people are affected by these LA fires. If you live in Los Angeles County during these LA fires, they had to release news stories and reports about the air quality here. How when they combine the smog with the smoke from the incineration of entire forests and the demolition of houses filled with everything from ceramic toilets to plastic PlayStations to Xboxes to sex toys, everything went up in flame. I'm not saying that there were that many sex toys in the areas around there, but I know that there had to be a fucking dildo in one of those bedrooms. And guess what? No one ran back and said, you know what? I just need to grab something. Are you going for the flashlight and the batteries? I'm going for the batteries. I'm going to go for something else there. So there's a dildo floating in the atmosphere that people are breathing in. And that should sum up what Los Angeles is. It sucks. This is I Hate LA, Love Me Anyway. I'm your host, Ian Ileana. I do this podcast daily. And I don't know, CT is right. I really should just do one tomorrow. So tomorrow, 1800, there will be the regularly scheduled one. If I do a second one after that, I'll do a second one after that. I'm going to start adding more podcasts, more content. I'm going to try and invite you more into my life because I want you to know me as more than just a person who creates music. I'm a person who is in this community, and even though I hate these fucking people and I think they're scum, I'm still going to try and save them from themselves because they're polluting an environment and then choking on it. And then doing the same exact thing to their own kids. So it falls on me, a disabled American veteran, to be a superhero by myself. I'm in this fight alone. I hate LA, love me anyway. See you tomorrow.